Tom Clark's 6M podcast is a Boink Studios production. And now, on with the show. Hey, what is up? Welcome to Tom Clark's 6M podcast. I'm your host, Tom Clark, and in this episode, I'm joined by co-host Phil Lindsey.
At age 50, I found myself for the first time in my life working in a cubicle. Now, don't laugh. It's the truth. Most of my professional life has been spent on my feet, working for the man, okay? Punching a clock, doing all that stuff. But then, beginning at age 50, things take a turn. I get to more of what I would call the professional world. And I've been there ever since. And I don't look back. I'm pretty darn happy. Everything is actually pretty sweet. No complaints here. None to give. But yes, for the first time in my life, I'm in a cubicle. And guess what, kids? I'm actually pretty good with it. I don't sweat it much at all. Got to have workspace. I need a desk and a computer. And I'm in a cubicle. I'm good. However, I know a lot of people are not good with that life, especially if they spent 5+ years or longer, whatever that looks like. And the toll it can take on you mentally, I totally get it. There are some days I've been there for 10 hours and I look at my watch and say, oh my God, I'm the last one here. It happens. It happens. I can see how the grind of that year after year after year would cause some people to just want to go home, take a nap, and never come back. I totally get that. And a lot of that we're going to talk about here today with this flick, one of my favorites of all time, Office Space. If you've never seen this movie, shame on you. You don't know what you're missing. If you have seen it, then you know how freaking great it is. If you're a fan, you're a fan. That's it. I've been a fan of this movie forever. There's a lot of parallels here in this movie that I can draw between my situation now and my co-host's former situation in the past, and we'll get there. But before we get there, let's do this. Office Space is a 1999 American satirical black comedy film written and directed by Mike Judge. Yes, that Mike Judge. It satirizes, we'll get it, the work life of a typical 1990s software company, focusing on a handful of individuals weary from their jobs. It stars an assorted ensemble cast, which we will get to here today. Distributed by 20th Century Fox, release date officially February 19th, 1999. Yes, kids, 25 years as of this recording, just about a few weeks shy of the 25th anniversary of this film. The running time is 89 minutes. The budget for this film was $10 million. The box office, well, $12.2 million. But that's not the real story, and we will get there today. And that is the lowdown for Office Space. So, Phil, after recording with you for, I guess it's 2 years now, or however long it's been, many episodes, you have talked quite a bit before to me about working in situations like this, going in a cubicle and doing your thing and working the 9-to-5 job every day. When watching this movie through the years, do you see yourself in this film? Like, how do you relate to this movie, actually?
Not just do I see myself in this movie for many reasons, but I feel like if you worked in an office, you recognize a lot of things in here. The micromanaging, how you're told something by one boss and then somebody else has to come and tell you the same thing. You got to hear the same thing like 2 or 3 times. The micromanaging is a big thing in offices. I don't know. It's hard to describe kind of the soul crushing life of an office worker, and I feel like this sums it up pretty well. There's so many minor things, like, I mean, even the stuff with the copier. There's just so many things in this movie that just perfectly describes working in an office. But for me, it also pretty much describes my escape from corporate America, because because at the beginning of the movie, the main character gets hypnotized, and he just kind of like, I don't care about any of this anymore. Why am I so stressed out by any of this? Um, I want to say I worked in office for about 9 years. I started in 2009, and I believe I left in 2018. So about
Hmm.
9 years. Um, uh, by around about the 6th or 7th year, I was about 31 years old. I just turned 31, and I went through a very severe depression, to the point that, um, I don't know. I just wasn't caring about most things. And so, of course, this job that I had not even thought about how miserable it was making me, I just didn't care about any of it. We were supposed to be like business casual. I would come every day in jeans, um, and nobody said anything. I would just continue to do things like he did and not even thinking about or making a connection to this movie. But I would just continue to push and push the envelope on things and just be like, oh, what are they going to do? Fire me? No.
Right.
I would come late. I would I completely stopped. I stopped combing. I stopped cutting my hair. I stopped like grooming the same way. I was just coming in and just, all right, I'm here. I'm working.
Hmm.
That was how it went until I eventually quit. Even the way I quit, I was just kind of like, yeah, I'm done. I'm done.
I have experienced everything you just described professionally, but not sitting at a desk. But I mean, I've went through all the turmoil of basically everything you just laid out. And yeah, you're right. Because look, kids, if any of you ever worked out with not only with the public, but in a public setting with coworkers, you're not working remote. Some of you may not know what that's like these days. But if you ever done that, you know that there's personalities, there's different attitudes, there's people who are in it for themselves. They'll throw you under the bus at the first chance they get. As Phil said, that they're anal about weird stuff that doesn't really matter to anybody in the end. And we're like, why are we doing this? Why are we continuing to do these things which are dumb, just repetitive? By the way, Phil, how are those TPS reports coming? I'm gonna need those on my desk.
Yeah, yeah. Passive aggressiveness, like this. Lombard is just such a perfect summation of a lot of management at these places.
Mm.
I mean, you couldn't get it any more perfect.
Bill Lumbergh continues to be one of the best characters I've ever seen, and I mean, look, it's iconic. The glasses, the hair, the suspenders, the tie. I mean, it looks like it's a uniform he puts on. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh, Gary Cole is the man. There's so much good stuff about this movie, dude. And there are moments, and it's weird to say this. And we'll go ahead and start hitting the cast here in a sec. But like sometimes I kind of forget that Jennifer Aniston's in this because I don't know the movie for Jennifer Aniston. I actually think she's really good in it, but I don't really know it for her. I just know it because I love it because it's funny. Do you know what I mean? I kind of really like the movie wasn't just about her, man. I think that's a good thing.
Yeah, I believe part of the story was that she was brought in because she was they needed like a big name celebrity. They
Mhm.
needed like a big star to add to this cast, and that's how she was cast.
Yeah. And like they were basically Mike Judge was as the story goes, kids, Mike Judge was basically told you're taking her whether you want her or not. And he was like initially saying no, but when she tested, he loved her and he said, well, she's perfect for it, so it's good. But apparently he wasn't going to get a choice either way, which is kind of crap. But I do think she's very good in this, actually.
Yeah, it's Jennifer Aniston. She can do comedy.
Oh yeah.
She can do all of the stuff that this role needs. Not sure why he was at one point so gung ho against having her.
Yeah, yeah, I don't really get that either. And I mean, I think more. I don't know if it was as much about her as it was he didn't like being told what to do because the production behind the
Yeah,
scenes was
I can see
not
that.
pleasant. you know, which is crazy. Like the studio wanted to change things, they weren't happy, and they made it miserable for him. So much so that apparently, Phil, he was asked to do a sequel and he said no. He's like, I'm not going to go back to that. It was too much tension and too much stress, man. Can you imagine?
Yeah, I don't think it needed a sequel. What are you gonna?
No.
Yeah, it didn't need a sequel. I think it made its point. I think it was nice and concise and to the point. You didn't need to drag this out and do more than one.
Yeah, totally agree. Totally agree. We've said here on the show many times before, dude, that just just hit it and quit it. Just be done. Like, I mean, yeah, you're 100% right. This movie does not need a sequel. It would have been okay if they had, but I'm kind of really glad that we never revisited this. I mean, this movie became a cult classic in the years that followed. It made no money at the box office. It was considered a flop. But man, it found its audience through like cable or a like, pay TV, HBO, and also through DVD rental at the time. I mean, it blew up, man. It's crazy.
Yeah,
As a lot of movies did.
very influential movie. Just how many times have we seen someone either do an homage to the copy machine scene and out in the field or something else? Like, very influential movie at this point.
Oh God, big time. Big time. Before we get started, can we give the soundtrack a shout out? Because wow. The soundtrack's really, really good, dude. I've always been a fan of it.
Yeah, you don't think this movie that's about like work something as mundane and like this piece of Americana of working in an office space would have this soundtrack that's just like full of like this like hardcore gangster rap.
Mm.
It's such an interesting juxtaposition, man.
You can't hear still without imagining picturing the copier in the field. It's awesome. Oh my God, it's so good. Yeah, there's so much good stuff on here, man. Let's get to this cast. Ron Livingston as Peter Gibbons. And as we said, this thing's directed by Mike Judge, the man behind Beavis and Butthead and also King of the Hill. So this guy's been in Hollywood for a long time, been in animation for a long time. But Peter Gibbons here is Ron Livingston. Man, do you identify the most with Peter, I guess, then? Since you shared the story earlier, that's who you identify with the most?
Yeah, I think that Peter is a everyday character. He's an everyman. But I thought he's such a Mike Judge character. Like if you followed anything this guy done, like this is such a like Mike Judge character, Mike Dunn, a Mike Judge character. Like there's everything about him. You could totally see this character in an episode of King of the Hill.
Oh my God, you so could. Well done. Yeah. So, kids, basically, the story is this guy, Peter, his life's going nowhere. Pretty sure his girlfriend's cheating on him. All his friends think so. I love the reaction every time he mentions it. Like, yeah.
One of the best running gags in the movie. Every time he brings it up, nobody's just like, no, why would you think that? They're like, yeah probably so.
Oh, it's so good. Yeah, yeah. Why would you say that, Peter? No, everyone kind of knows. Even his neighbor, who we'll get to, kind of knows. Yeah, everyone kind of knows. But he's miserable. He's just in a hamster wheel, man. It's the office 9 to 5 and the soul crushing, monotonous work, and it's very repetitive motion and the same thing every day. And company first. What was the banner they had in the office? Think about the company is this good for the company or whatever? Like, man, they really drive that home, don't they?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't remember the exact wording, but it's something like that.
Crazy. So Ron Livingston's had a career since then. He's done a bunch of other stuff. I get it. And I like the guy. He's always going to be Peter Gibbons, Phil. Every time I see him, I think about Office Space. I just can't help myself. And I really like him too. But every time I see him, he's Peter Gibbons. What do you think about him in this role in this film?
I think he's great. I think he plays it very straight. He doesn't come in and just like do like this over the top comedy. He's kind of got like the perfect build and face for this character as well, because a big part of the character is that it's just like he's just kind of decided this is what I'm going to do every day, and it's like Well, you don't have to. You can make a decision to not do it.
Mm.
But he's totally got this look about him like, I guess this is what I'm doing, man. Get up and put this shirt and tie on and go in this place I hate.
I mean, I've been there, Phil. It's like you get this thought of, well, I'm probably not gonna be able to find anything else that pays what these guys pay, and I don't want to roll the dice and take a chance. Like, and they get you right. I mean, they keep you there because they make you feel like, well, if you leave, good luck to you, pal. I mean, it's not just the office, the office world that's like that. It's a lot of jobs are like that. They just make you feel as though you can't live without them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he's also if you watch Sex and the City, he is Jack Berger,
That's
love
right.
interest from that show that broke up with Carrie on a post-it.
See, I don't know that because I don't watch that show, but I know you would know that. That is hilarious. There's no way that's accidental. No way.
Yeah.
On a post-it. I freaking love it. What a great, awesome thing that is. Very cool. Yeah, dude, he's awesome. Like you said, he's so good here, man. Just understated. And man, by the time he sits in that chair in front of that hypnotist, you're like, he is, I feel it. Didn't you feel it? Like you could just feel how he just takes everything in stride and doesn't speak up for himself and doesn't lash out when people just keep coming at him about those freaking reports and whatnot. I love how they built that up to the moment when the change happens, and then you're like, man, this is awesome. Like you can see a physical change in the guy after that happens, you know?
Yeah, you can see the weight lifted off his shoulder.
That's it. That's it exactly. Yeah. So he goes for the sake of his girlfriend. He wakes up to all these messages, all these voicemails from Lumbergh, right? And every one of them goes, yeah. And they all start off the exact same way.
All sounding the
Yeah.
same way.
Same thing.
All
Every
same
time.
passive aggressiveness. He doesn't just get on and go, "Hey, this is Lumbergh." Yeah, this is Lumbergh. Where are you? I'm gonna need you to come in.
Oh man. So good. And like his girlfriend calls him and she's bawling him out. And he holds the phone back and just hangs up with one finger, just presses the button. And she calls him back and yells at him that she's been cheating on him. And he doesn't care. He's just going to go back to sleep, which is great. Skip the day, take a day at home, man. Why not? We mentioned Jennifer Aniston. She is here as Joanna. Joanna never got a last name. Joanna works at Tchotchke's, which if you've ever been to, well, listen, insert whatever name of any restaurant you want. Applebee's, Chili's, TGI
Denny's,
Fridays, whatever.
all
They look
those,
just like Tchotchke's.
all of those restaurants where it's just like the appeal of it. We're so fun. We're so fun. It's so fun to be here. Like,
Whew. And the flair, the pieces of flair.
oh my god. But yeah, that just goes into it with that because that's got to be like corporate mandate. Like, hey man, gotta wear the flair. You gotta put out this perception of we're fun. Our waiters and waitresses are so fun.
Right, right. Of
Look at
course.
my wacky suspenders. It's so fun here.
Right. Aren't you happy to be here?
Yeah. Every time I think of Office Space and I think of that hypnotist scene, I just think of him just like deeper and deeper,
Yeah. God. It goes a little intense there, doesn't it?
deeper and deeper.
By the way, I think Aniston works here because she can really pull off, Midwest small town girl. I
Yes.
think that's why it works. But dude, she can also pull off high class living in New York look. Like, dude, she can do both. And a lot of actors can't do that, man. You see some actors cast and roll, and you're like, oh, come on. That dude does not look like he would ever live anywhere near that city. But dude, she can totally pull it off, man. So that's good. What do you think about them together? Chemistry? Yeah?
I think that they work because you can see in like the way that he initially is just like I'm into this woman, but it's just like when you really dig deep into like who she is as a character and then what she looks like, there's not like it's like why did you build this pursuit of this woman up to be this big thing when you could have always just said hello to her?
Yeah. I want to take you out to dinner. Then I want to
Yeah.
take you back to my apartment and watch Kung Fu. Do you ever watch Kung Fu? And that look that she gets is freaking awesome.
Where she's just like, yeah, I love kung fu, and that's why I'm like when once you like actually like get the interactions between them, like she was never like this unattainable woman. So why did he ever like build her up on this pedestal? Like I just can't, I can't do it.
I mean, if you want to get deep here, and we shouldn't because it's just a silly comedy, but a lot of that comes from his life, right? He just feels like he's stuck in a rut and he can't do any better for himself professionally. So why would a woman want to? He's nobody. He doesn't really matter all that much. He's just a cog in the machine. It kind of translates to every other part of your life, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think it does. I think him being in a middle of the road job that's not going anywhere is the same as him being in a middle of the road relationship that's not really going anywhere. He was going to end up staying in that relationship until she broke up with him first.
Yeah. Oh man, for sure. For sure. So we have to talk about the great Stephen Root. If we were to rename Stephen Root, I submit we call him Stephen the Great because this guy has never made anything bad that I've ever seen. I love him to death. Like a lot of people knew who he was through news radio. And then this movie, of course, he's gone on to do a lot of other stuff. I mean, we've mentioned King of the Hill. He's Doe Treve on King of the Hill. I mean, he's a lot of other people too through the years. Dude, look, just a little context there for you kids. This was based on an animated short called Milton. So this movie doesn't happen without Mike Judge creating that to begin with. But dude, this doesn't work without Stephen Root. He is freaking great in this, isn't he?
Yeah, I mean, all of his mumbling and just like his facial expressions. And yeah, it makes so much sense when you say that he's Dotry because he has the same like sunburned skin, like the same like just the way he dresses, like the way he moves around, and like his anxiousness and like his I don't know, just like the way he won't just speak up for himself. It's all stuff that you can tie to Bill Dotrieve.
Oh, dude, yeah, he's great. I mean, he's talk about, getting in character. That's what he does so well. Like he disappears. I mean, Stephen Root all cleaned up. Doesn't really look like this guy at all, but like he just gets in the character. Like you said, behavior, mannerisms, his voice, the mumbling, that freaking stapler, which for my money is an iconic piece of Hollywood right there. At least for me and in my world, it's iconic. Like, and part of the stories about this was that that company no longer had not made that stapler in years. But after this movie, they were getting requests, so they had to start making it again. Oh, great story. Great story. He's obsessed with this swing line stapler and then takes drastic measures later to get it back. I found it very funny that the line that he used about the two squirrels having sex and he called them that they're married, that was improvised. He asked Mike Judge if he could include that line. He begged him. He said, "Please let me put that in. It'd be funny," and he let him do it, which is really good. A lot of the dialogue in this movie turns out was not written down ahead of time. So who would have thunk it? But let me ask you this: if you can remember back when you first saw this film, did you see the end coming?
No,
I mean, I actually thought Peter was going to go to prison. I kind of thought, I cannot believe this movie's going to end on such a down note. This is a comedy. What are we doing? Like,
I didn't think he was going to go to prison, but I definitely didn't see Milton being like the guy that like ended up with the happy ending.
like the first time he said he talked about setting the building on fire was when he was in the basement. They turned the lights off. Isn't that the first time he said it?
Yeah, and he just keeps saying, "Okay, okay." I love that he'll like do like this whole diatribe. He's just mumbling all this stuff, and he'll just get to it. He's like, "Okay, okay."
And nobody would have thought it was him because no one ever paid any attention to him to begin with.
Not even supposed to be there. He doesn't work there.
Doesn't work
Does
there.
not work there.
Turns out he was laid off. No one told him about it. I love that line. The way that line's delivered is freaking great, man.
Man, but that is again, that's such a man. That is such a great depiction of life in the office where there's so many people there. They're extremely passive aggressive. They do not want any kind of confrontation or conflict. So they just kind of dance around the point like, oh, well, yeah, it's not that you're laid off. You just don't sit here anymore. You sit over there. No, you sit over here.
Oh, that's good. That's fun. Yeah, he's yeah. Well, they mess with the wrong guy. I don't know what more to tell you. They mess with the wrong guy. Hey, kids, Tom Clark here, and did you know the very podcast you're listening to right now is available on boinkstudios.com. B-O-I-N-K, Boink Studios is the home of Tom Clark's Main Event, Tom Clark's 6M podcast, and Two Nations Under Ted, a Ted Lasso podcast. Visit the site today for links to every podcast platform, social media, special announcements, and a lot more. Check out the site and bookmark today, boinkstudios.com. Gary Cole, we mentioned him already as Lumbergh. Again, this guy is, I mean, if I ever decided to do any sort of Halloween, this would be it. I don't have the hair for it, but I'd try to pull it off because, like, man, again, it looks like a freaking uniform this guy's wearing. And Gary, a lot of what Gary Cole has done has just been freaking great. He's very funny. He can do drama. He can do comedy. He can do just about anything you want. I mean, he was the dad in Talladega Nights, of course. He was really, really funny in that.
Very funny in it.
So good.
It's also in Gremlins 2. She plays an office He plays an office as well.
There you go.
And he's every time I think of Gremlins 2, I cannot help but think about just how great he is in it. He just completely it's this ridiculous role, this ridiculously kind of campy role that he does in that movie, and he's great.
We've done Gremlins here on the 6M, but we've never done Gremlins 2. Or we haven't done it yet, put it that way. He's awesome, man. I can't say enough good things about him. And bits of trivia here for you is that, like, and it's a weird callback too, but like he's wearing, if you look up close, the ring that he's wearing says like Earth Force Academy, which is tied back to a short-lived show he did called, I think it's called Crusade. It was like after Babylon 5. So he wore that ring in the film, I guess just as a wink and a nod to that. But I found that kind of funny. Again, I don't know what things look like. We talk about all the time here about what movies look like had they went in other directions. I don't really have much in terms of what if they had not, cast Cole here. But I can tell you that supposedly Ben Affleck was offered the role of Peter, which I think Ben can pull off the everyman pretty well. Maybe not these days, but he could then. So that may have worked. So Owen Wilson and Vince Vaughn both auditioned for the role of Lawrence, who we'll get to in a second. They were turned down, which is fun. Yeah.
Yeah, I just don't think this movie works without Gary Cole as Lumbergh. He just has the look down. He definitely has that look of that guy in the office with like the suspenders and the glasses and everything. There was a guy that worked in our office that had kind of the same look, had his hair slicked back. Yeah, that kind of had the same kind of like passive aggressive tone to things, or the same kind of attempt to seem easygoing that was extremely contrived. Yeah, the funny thing is I got along very good with this guy, which is hilarious.
Oh wow.
Hilarious. But yeah, no, Lumbergh is just perfect. Just everything about him, the way he carries himself, his depiction of management in a corporate setting is just it's just so on the nose and so perfect. It's like, yeah, there are so many people in management that I know like this.
Oh man. And Pat, you said it best. Passive aggressive is 100% what he is. Like trying to get you to do something, doesn't really give you a chance to answer, and just goes, I need you to come in on Friday or like Saturday. We need you with the weekend. Yeah. Okay. And then he just walks off.
He's always just kind of like wandering around. Like, what are you actually doing? When he's trying to get out of there before Lombard gets to his desk, and he's just like wandering around from desk to desk with his cup of coffee, and it's just like, what are you doing? The dream sequence when he thinks that He thinks he slept with his girlfriend. And
God.
he's got the foot up, and he just like turns around like, "Oh, hey, Peter. Oh, I need to come in."
Oh, that supposedly was not in the script. They threw that in because Mike Judge thought it would be funny.
No, and it was hilarious.
It is.
It's not even like he's into like having sex. He's just still just Lumbergh. He's like, "Oh, hey, by the way, I'm gonna need you to come in."
I can remember seeing this movie for the first time, and when he's told that, she had sex with Lumbergh, I was like, my heart dropped. I'm like, oh no. Like we had no reason to believe that wasn't the truth. And then she admitted to it. And then one of the guys is like, yeah, remember him like this before we moved away. He's like, wait a minute. And then he gets it cleared up. I'm like, oh my God, please tell me she didn't sleep with this idiot.
It's not even a Lumbergh he's thinking about. But yeah. But that just goes to show just how much like working there has just completely consumed his life. Um, yeah, the way that he is just like he also doesn't like put up much of a fight when he's confronted. Like the parts where Peter is just kind of like snapped out of it and he's just coming to work and doing whatever, and he goes to leave after he goes in there and has the meeting with those consultants, and Lombard's trying to get his attention. He's like, "Hey, Peter," and he just like walks right around him. He doesn't even respond. He just stands there. he's like an NPC. He's like he just he's just an NPC that just like roams around the office and interacts with people.
And that was after the hypnotism and the weekend that he was supposed to work. And you can just hear Bill going, Peter, well, yeah, all right. And then he's going to grill him. And then Peter just walks around. Yeah. Yeah. A very anti confrontation there. It just didn't happen for him. Yeah. Again, he's perfect. It's no mystery, Phil, that the funniest stuff and the most dramatic movies and the things that click on all cylinders is when the cast is just working together, man. It's great.
It's just the fact that he just seems to never change. It just seems like he always looks like he's dressed the same. He always inexplicably has a coffee cup in his hand. It's just
every time.
Every time you see him, it's just so funny, man.
Hey, listen to your point. When he pulls up and Peter's in his parking space, they initially had it to where Bill pitches a fit and he gets really, really pissed off. And he goes to Judge supposedly and says, we got to cut this. This guy would never do this. This guy needs to be even killed all the time. So I'm like, I'm glad they took that out.
Yeah, because I mean, there's just something about him that is just like almost robotic, where he's just like, okay.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it really works. So Peter's two friends that he works with, and Phil, you know how this works. Are they really friends? Are they just coworkers? I mean, for a lot of people, it's kind of in between. I have thoughts on it that I maybe won't share here, but is there such a thing as work friends and outside friends? I'd say probably so. But so I don't know how tight these three characters really are, but they're tight enough to hang out and do stuff. But like for example, when Peter misses work and he comes back, they're like, "Hey man, what's going on?" I'm like, "You didn't call him? Neither one of you called him?" Like, there were little moments like that, you know?
Are you dead? Like nothing. This guy just don't show up for 2 days.
Right.
And nobody's like, man, hey man, are you all right?
Yeah. But the two friends we're talking about are David Herman as Michael Bolton and Ajay Naidu, who hopefully I got that right, as Samir. Those are his two friends. And the stuff with those two guys, Phil, they didn't have a lot of screen time, but what they had was great. Like that look when they're feeding the disc into the system and the song is playing, and she comes around the corner and gives that big goofy grin, and Michael just stops and he's slow motion, just looks at you with that look on his face, and it's so good.
Yeah,
just that smirk. Oh,
Michael Bolton is given some very, very funny things to do. I mean, the first time we see him in a movie when he's on the expressway and he's playing the rap music and he's just rapping along with it, and then somebody black shows up and then he's like trying to fade himself down and then starts locking his doors.
Jesus, I know, right? My God. It's funny because like the head of the studio didn't like rap and told Mike Judge he wanted the rap taken out, and Judge fought for it, and so they screen tested the movie, and the first comment from the screen test audience was that they loved the music.
Yeah, music is great because
This is great.
with Michael Bolton in particular, it makes the point that you have all of these people that work in an office that are like under the surface, like seething with like all this aggressiveness and all these things that they want to just like shout and be like in your face like rap music. But then when you look at them, they're very meek and kind of cowardly. Um, and so I think Michael Bolton is like a perfect depiction of that. He's like a perfect. Uh, he shows that straight away when he's in the car and he's rapping. But then like when somebody might see him, he's like, oh, let me straighten up. Let me lock my car. I don't want this guy to possibly pull me out of his car when this guy is nothing but just probably like a beggar on the side of the road that's trying to sell flowers. Um,
Right.
Not gonna do anything to hurt you. I mean, or the fact that they're like the irony that he spends all this time listening to this very rebellious like rap music, and then he's so afraid of going to jail.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. No kidding. I mean, look, let's face it. Michael Bolton is the whitest guy you've ever seen. Just like the
Yes.
real Michael Bolton. I'm just saying.
Yes, and again that part of his character also the fact that he wants no comparisons to Michael Bolton at all. He just thinks like, ah, that guy, he sucks. Like, I mean, yeah, but also like the things that you would prescribe to Michael Bolton as singer, like you said, whiteness. Like, yeah, you're very white too, sir. Like, I know you want to make it seem like you're not because you enjoy rap music, but I mean, even like the first time he says hello to Peter and he turns around, he's like, "What up, G?"
Yeah. Yeah. He does that again at the end of the movie too, calls him G.
Yeah, but it's like, yo, that's not who you are, bro. You're this unassuming software engineer at a office that nobody would probably bat an eye to. I mean, the fact that he was so worried that he could possibly go to jail and everybody was going to think it was him, like I guarantee nobody would have assumed it was him right away.
Oh no, yeah, no chance. No chance. I love that the scheme to take money came from Superman 3 because everybody recognizes the plan, then he has to tell him where it came from.
Yeah, which is also funny about him because again, he wants you to think that he is just like, yeah, I'm not like these guys. I'm not like the rest of these office workers. I kind of have like this edge or coolness to me. Like, no, you're a big dork too.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, he's and Samir. So Samir didn't get enough to do, but I'll tell you this. Samir can flat out break dance. Holy Lord. So good, man.
Yeah, but see, I think that he's like a great piece of like just like the American dream and this idea. Oh, well, you just get a good job, and once you get a good job, you keep it. Like
Right.
at the one point where Peter tells him, "Can you imagine if we're still doing this when we're 50?" And he says, "Oh, I think it would be great to have that kind of job security."
Right. Yeah.
Uh, but I think that's what it is. I think for a lot of people that are not white, you just think, oh, well, I get a job and I keep it. Like you don't leave a good job if you get a good, consistent paying job. You don't. You just tough it out. You grit it out.
And like exactly, yeah, he's miserable on one hand, but on the other hand, he's not going to leave. Yeah, it's such a conundrum, man. It's such a weird thing that we as I don't know, like responsible adults feel like we have to go and eat all this crap all the time.
Yeah, and he in particular eats a lot of crap because people are always mispronouncing his name.
Yeah.
I'm sure that there are um, stereotypes that they have put on him or
Yeah.
these things that he has to contend with just because of the color of his skin or his
Mm.
accent, and he just kind of deals with it because he's like, all right, well, I need my job.
And like they go there, they don't go very deep, but I mean, you get the point of especially when he complains about them mispronouncing his name and whatnot. And, look, Phil, not for nothing. He's just another nameless, faceless nobody in the grand scheme of things because of the world that he's in.
Yes.
But he's awesome. I love when Tom is telling him about the mat, and Michael's like, They get that very, very solemn tone where he says like this is the worst idea I've ever heard in my life, Tom. Just very matter of fact. Samir's like, yes, it's very, very bad. Like,
Yeah, I think the whole time Samir is just looking at him with like the disgusted look on his face. Like, what are you even talking about? Like,
yeah.
why would you think that would work? Like,
Oh,
it kind of reminds me of Apu when Homer comes in there and gives him his idea for a movie, and he was just like, "I can't believe you'd be so stupid. Like, yeah, I can't believe that you you know that this movie has been made already. How could you come in here and do such a thing?"
oh Lord, that's so much fun. Yeah. Yikes. Yeah, it's just again, like you talk about things that may or may not work. Again, feel like could they have cast other people? Sure, I suppose. But I think everything works with the three guys as being friends here, man. I don't bump into any of this at all. You know what I mean? I think they have good chemistry and they feel like real people. And like you said, it's a good, especially with Bolton. It feels like, like on the surface, I had to be this thing, but I'm going to do this other thing because I had to be this guy, but I want to be this other guy. Yeah, I don't know. Crazy.
Yeah.
And by the way, the real Michael Bolton did this entire scene years later. They like digitally inserted him into this scene, like where he's sitting there complaining about Michael Bolton being an clown. And the real Michael Bolton took it in stride and had fun with it. And he actually appeared in that scene in the chair, like calling himself names. I'm like, this is not funny because you are included. It's funny because you're not included. Don't be making fun of yourself. Like, I don't know. If you ever get a chance to look that up, kids, it's funny, I have to say. But, it's not quite the same. But yeah, he's again like the three guys together, especially out in that field. Dude, has there been a more iconic scene from a comedy in the past 20? I mean, well, this movie's 25 this year. I mean, that copy machine out there, I can just imagine office workers all over the country just cheering in their seats when they saw that happen.
Yeah, hilarious. One of the best scenes of the movie for sure. One of the things I do think is also very interesting about Samir and Michael is that um, you see the difference in how this very, very white man uh, doesn't want to assimilate. He wants to on the outside looking in and be white, but also he likes rap music. He wants to use like black slang and all these other things, but at the same time, Samir in certain ways wants to assimilate. He wants the things that come with
Ooh.
whiteness, and it's just such an interesting. It's so interesting that they show both halves of that as Peter's friends.
I don't know that I picked up on that, but that is well done. Well done. Very true. Yeah. Almost like they want to maybe switch places to some degree.
Yeah, I mean, I think it just goes to show that both of these guys want the same thing in terms of like uh monetary and what have you, but at the same time, like Samir's here for a reason. He wants, the success through the lens of whiteness. Um and I don't think that Michael like picks up on that at all. I don't think he picks up in his place in this at all. I think he's just like wants to run away from certain things that are
Mm.
attributed to whiteness, but he also very much benefits off being white.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm with you. I 100% agree with that. Yeah, it's man, leave it up to us to take a simple comedy and start digging with a shovel because we do that all the time. Like I think it's just the nature of how you and I work together, and plus, I'm a nerd. I admit it, and my brain goes other places when watching something that should be fluff, but I try to dissect it as something more. But no, I totally get what you're saying, man. I actually see it.
Yeah, I think that there's too many things that Judge does with Michael Bolton's character that it'd be impossible to not see these things that this
Mm.
guy is just like, God, no, I'm Michael Bolton. That other guy, he sucks.
Right, right. Yeah. Why should I have to change my name? Yeah. He should change his. That's a good comeback. And the
Um,
Toms love Michael Bolton, of course. Why wouldn't they?
yeah, of course. And
Or the Bobs. Yeah.
even if you look at it this way, why don't you just call yourself Mike? No, because
Right.
I want it to sound formal and white. Like if I call myself Mike, that's what a black guy would call himself. I'm
Oh
Michael.
my God. Yeah.
I'm Michael. Like, why would I call myself Mike?
Again, we're going down a rabbit hole here, but it's got my brain going another direction. How many grown men do you know go by their full name? Do you know a lot? I mean, I'm sure you do. We all do. Like, you don't go by Philip. Have you ever gone by Philip?
I think in like most office settings, but yeah, I don't know.
Hmm. I would never have called. I wouldn't even have thought to call you Philip. If you suddenly said, "Start calling me Philip," I'd be like, I'll try."
Sounds weird.
It's weird.
Mother calls me Philip.
I've never gone by Thomas, but I used to go by Tommy. And that stopped in ninth grade because I was in homeroom class with another kid named Tommy, and the teacher said, "One of you is going to have to be Tom." And I shot my hand straight up. One of the few times in high school that I ever was like actually said anything out loud to anybody. I'm like, right here, pal. I got you. I'm done being Tommy. My family still calls me Tommy, by the way. That's never going to change more than likely. But to the rest of the world, I'm Tom. And maybe other things as well. Who knows? But yeah, like I know a Michael. I know a Patrick. Like, I guess it's a thing, but I don't know. I don't know. I guess the alternative feel is weird. If you know like a 70-year-old man called Billy, like you're still Billy? Really? You're 70. Really? Are you still this name? I don't know. Some of that stuff just strikes me as weird. I'm not even really sure why.
Some people don't want to let it go.
I guess, man. I guess so. Diedrich Botter as Bader. I've always said Botter. Diedrich Botter as Lawrence is freaking money. He is money. I love this guy so much. If any character from this movie should have maybe done something else, I would love to have seen Lawrence in some other vehicle, whether it was a spot on a sitcom or something. Like, he is great here, man, isn't he? I mean, he didn't get a whole lot of time, but the time he gets, he's really good.
Yeah. He's definitely, again, if I say that Peter makes sense as a King of the Hill character, Lawrence is absolutely a King of the Hill character, like through and through. Just the way he carries himself, the fact that he's like a unassuming, like blue collar worker, everything about it. You could see him like standing in that alley, just talking to somebody. Like even their relationship is kind of like
Right.
them talking over a fence. They don't have a fence. It's just like the wall between their apartments. Um, and I think to your point, I think the interesting thing about Peter and Lawrence is that they kind of feel like real friends. Other than like his office worker friends, they feel like real friends.
Good call. Yeah. Yeah, they do. Yeah, they feel like more than just acquaintance. Although Peter seems to be a little frustrated with him because he's constantly talking to him through the walls. Like, if you want to talk, just come on over.
Because I think he equates it with the office and how people will just talk to you from their side of the cubicle. They won't just get up and talk to you.
Stop finding deep stuff here. Darn it all. That was great.
Yeah, I don't want to come home to people yelling my name from across the wall or across the room. That's what people do at work.
Oh my God, dude, you're killing me. That's really good. Like, I didn't even put that together. All these years I didn't put that together. That's really good. It makes a lot of sense.
And it's also the part of when you work on a trading floor or a floor with a bunch of cubicles, you have no privacy, so everybody can hear your conversation, and people just jump in your conversation and start talking to you like Lawrence does all the time.
I gotta be straight with you, man. I kicked the show off today talking about my current career, and like, I got a habit of doing it, and I'm trying to stop myself of just going around the corner and talking. Like, not to interrupt folks, but like if there's one person I need to say something to and someone's already standing there, I'm trying to remind myself, don't be rude, wait your turn. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Can't help it though sometimes.
Yeah, I think there's a bunch of things that Lawrence does that he just equates to the office. I mean, those things like the cubicle atmosphere, the fact that when your office, everybody wants to be so friendly with you. And I think he doesn't, I think he feels put off by how friendly Lawrence wants to be with him. And it's just as simple as he just wants to have small talk with him. But that's part of the office setting. Everybody wants to be chummy and have small talk.
Yeah, good call. Yeah. Wow. Yeah, he's oh man, I feel like I'm a broken record here, Phil, but he's great. Like, I just love Botter here. And plus I feel like he's one of us, man. I really feel like he's one of us. I feel like he's enough of a nerd. He's a professional, sure, but he's enough of a nerd and he's funny and he's a guy you could hang out with and he wouldn't play the Hollywood card on you or anything. He'd just be a normal dude and he'd like a lot of the same stuff you're into. And yeah, I kind of always liked that about him.
Yeah, I think unlike a bunch of the other people, and you see this also with Jennifer Aniston's character, he's just genuine. He is who he is. He's not trying to be anything else. He's not trying to just put on small talk with Peter just to do it. I think he's just trying to have conversation with him based off what he's actually thinking. Like he really was just sitting in his living room watching this hot chick on TV. Like, man, Peter, look at this. Like, I don't think I don't think he was just like trying to impress him or something.
Yeah. She looks a bit like Anne, doesn't she? And he's like, yeah, I guess. Like, oh my God. And that his voice is perfect. Like everything he does is, it just feels like a real person. And he's enough of a redneck, but you can't really place the voice and you're not really sure where he's from. He's not country, but he's close. Like just the generic dude with the mullet. And the mullet's absolutely working. Worst hairstyle ever, but it's so working here, man.
Tom Clark 6M Podcast is sponsored in part by Radius Law Group. Every day, Radius helps individuals, families, small businesses, and nonprofit organizations throughout North Carolina, Florida, and Pennsylvania resolve their legal issues by providing effective legal counsel in the areas of estate planning, as well as elder law and Medicaid. Radius Law holds the radical belief that working with a lawyer can indeed be enjoyable. So give them a call at 1-800-519-5667 for more information and tell them that Tom Clark 6M Podcast sent you.
Proud to say I never had a mullet. Did you have a mullet, Phil? Don't lie to me. Don't lie to me.
That's not really. It's not really a black thing to have a mullet. I know people tried to do the shag thing at one point. But no.
Listen. It shouldn't be a white thing either, Phil. But apparently, or evidently, unfortunately,
come on, man. Business on the side, party in the back.
Yeah. Oh, I have memories of being in high school and looking at dudes wearing that hair like that, and I can't believe what I'm seeing. This is the worst thing I've ever seen in my life. My opinion has not changed at all. I never said to myself, I got to get me one of those, like ever. He asked him what they had that conversation about. What would you do if you had $1 million if you were rich? And he's like, I'll tell you what. He sits up with full conviction, right? Doesn't hesitate. I'll tell you what I'd do, man. 2 chicks at the same time, man. Because that's just how he talks. And he laughs and he just doesn't break his stare. And he's like, that's it. If you had $1 million, you just do 2 chicks at the same time. Yep. He's like, straight. I always want to do that, man. It's so good.
Yeah. He kind of reminds me of in certain scenes from Futurama, the janitor character Rusty. He's like, yeah,
oh
Rusty.
Yeah, good call.
But yeah, no, he. But again, I think that's just such a genuine Lawrence response. Like he doesn't think of any of this stuff outside of what he's doing in this moment. Like, just probably gonna do 2 chicks. Like, none of this. Like, I'm gonna invest it or like any like grand like plans or anything like big other than just his everyday life. It's just like, just gonna have sex.
Chicks dig dudes with money.
Yeah. It doesn't think any more of it. Like nothing. That's it. Like he and Peter is just like, I just would not work.
Right, of course. I'm sorry, Phil. That's my first answer as well. I enjoy what I do for a living, but that'd probably be my first answer too. Not work.
Yeah, I think I would get bored. I think I would figure out a way to do something very low maintenance where I could do something and maybe not get paid that much for it, but just so I'm doing something every day, because I could just get up every day and do nothing.
I mean, you are into enough stuff that is not like a full-time gig that's like maybe paying all your bills. Like, I think you're into enough stuff that you wouldn't go nuts. I really do. I think you just throw yourself more into that world than maybe you could now. Like, I mean, you're a lot like me. Like it's a thing with having idle hands. Like I got to be doing something, man. Like I feel like that's you too. Like you can't just sit in a chair and not do anything for 2 straight hours. It's hard for you to do that. Am I wrong?
Yeah, it is. It is. That's why I'm like, I don't think I will ever be able to do office work again. I don't know if I'll ever be in a headspace to just be able to sit in the office for 8 hours a day.
It's a lot. It's yeah, it's a lot. But again, I enjoy what I do, so I can't complain too much. But again, I'll be 51 this year. I'm not a 25-year-old guy with his whole life ahead of him. I mean, I'll be dead soon. Let's face it. So I'm at the tail end, but it's fine. But yeah, man, I hear you. We gotta talk a little bit about we gotta talk about the Bobs who we haven't mentioned. John C. McGinley is Bob Slidell. And then we also have Paul Wilson, who is the other Bob. And I'll tell you something, man. John C. McGinley has done a lot of stuff. He is always funny. He's always good. I mean, not for nothing, Phil. They got some really good comedic actors in this movie, man.
Yeah, I don't think it works without all of these guys that can do the character roles and can successfully add so much humor to these small parts.
Oh yeah, yeah. The way the Bobs interact with each other, and we know Paul Wilson from Cheers because he was on there, and we had to mention Todd Duffy as Brian, who was, "Hey, you two, get a room." He's like, oh my God, this guy. You just want to slap the crap out of him, don't you?
Aniston's just like, I hate that guy.
Yeah. He's got 37 pieces of flair, Joanna. Just saying.
Yeah,
37.
Jesus Christ. Heck, what you want all these buttons on you? But yeah, anything for the job. But no, John McKinley is one of those guys. He's been in so many things. He's done so many small and notable parts. Man, just has such a recognizable face the second you see him, man. And he's great in this. He's just sitting there and listening to all of Peter's answers, and he's just so fascinated by this guy. And again, that is just so perfect about corporate America and offices. Like the second Peter didn't care, they're like, man, we gotta promote this guy.
Right? Yes.
He found a way to come in here every day and do less work and be very confident about it. This guy, he's got to be in management.
I love that the Bobs are so infatuated with him, dude.
Yeah,
very good. He's like, well, I'm gonna go, and he's like, it's good talking to you. And he's like, hey, the pleasure's all on this side of the table. Trust me. Like they're all over him, man.
They love him. They love the fact that he's just like completely honest about the fact that he does less work than everybody, and he just doesn't care about it. And he's very brutally honest about it, and they're just like, they love it, because when you look at everybody else in the entire office, everybody else is just so like timid and cowardly, or like they want to say something, but they just don't want to. And he's the only person in this moment that's just saying whatever is on his mind, and they're just like, yeah, we love it.
Right. It's like, well, I got to tell you, we got a chance to speak with this young man, and wow, like they're really impressed by him. It's so good.
Yeah, all the women in the office as well that work kind of like either assistant job or the in administration, and just how they just have to be constantly smiling and act like they're so cheerful all the time. Nobody is really like that.
Exactly.
It sounds like somebody's got a case on Mondays. Like,
oh my God, yes. Have you heard that repeated outside of watching this movie?
Yes,
because I have.
Yeah. I've also heard it in a very racist joke as well.
Oh my! I'm not even gonna ask.
Well, it's from a stand-up. It's kind of it's kind of in a joke in how white people find a way to come up with a slur or something out of nowhere for black people out of nothing. And the comedian's just like, yeah, this one guy was like, man, the Mondays, they're the worst. Yeah, you love the Mondays? And he's like, well, what's a Monday? Yeah, Monday, like the black people, because nobody likes Mondays.
Oh my God. Oh wow. That is like not funny, but typical, and at the same time.
Very typical.
Yeah. Code words. Well, I can't speak for all white people out there, but I don't really have code words. If I do, they've got nothing to do with race or cultural background or anything. They're more like code words for people being morons. But usually I just like to say morons.
I can't remember. I can't remember the stand-up that said this joke. By the way, I don't want to make it seem like I'm stealing someone's joke.
We like to attribute, source the material here so we don't get busted.
Yeah, I don't want Cat Williams yelling at us.
I don't know. I think I'd be okay with Cat Williams going on a lengthy diatribe about how I got it wrong. He's so eloquent, man. Like, I think he misses Con. He should have been an attorney. Dude, he could give a closing argument, man. His client's getting off. I'm telling you. He read 10,000 books a year. What was the number he said?
Can't possibly be true, but he just said it with such confidence. Like, yeah, right? Of course I did.
This morning I healed the sick. I did that. Like, wait a minute. Maybe he did. Like, he sounds like he did. I by the way, I love this scene where they're at the table and Peter says, here's another problem, Bob. I have 8 bosses. And McGinley sits straight up. He's like, I beg your pardon? 8 bosses? 8. Like, it's a very quick little exchange. Like, he's really concerned that Peter has 8 bosses. I'm like, yeah, that's kind of how this world goes, man. A lot of other worlds too. Like, all these people to answer to, which is nuts.
Yeah, I mean, when you think about it, the consultants are brought in to lay off the rest of the workforce because there's too many people. And then you've got this guy that they're talking to about, hey, we've got too many overhead. And then he comes in and says he's got 8 bosses. And he's just like, wait a minute, how is that possible? Like,
right.
Like, maybe we're looking at laying off the wrong people. But again, that's how corporate works. Those people don't get laid off. Like, those people that are in upper management, that your job is specifically to kind of do the same thing that somebody else does. Those are the people that don't get laid off.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, dude, you don't fire the train conductor. You fire the guy shoveling the coal, right? We'll find another guy to shovel the coal. It'll be fine.
Yeah.
Train's got to keep rolling. Yeah, I feel that. I have felt that before, actually, for sure. That is essentially your cast. We did not mention Drew with the O face. We had to. If everything goes right, she'll be seeing my O face. I have heard that outside this movie, for sure. The doctor that unfortunately meets his demise, that Dr. Swan says Michael McShane. So got to mention him here. Also, Orlando Jones that had like 5 minutes in this film.
Magazine salesman guy.
Yeah.
He's just like, yeah, I make way more money selling magazines than I ever did in software engineering.
He's like, hi, my name is Steve. I come from a bad neighborhood. Like, he's very monotone and rehearsed and like, you know.
Did you also pick up that he essentially is doing what the guy at the very beginning of the movie is doing when Michael locked his door? Because that's what the guy walking around the expressway, he's selling the flowers. This guy is just peddling magazines. And I think it's kind of this point that Michael meets this guy that in any other setting, he might have like completely shunned this guy and thought he was smoking crack. Like he like, which was his alibi. And at the same time, like, no, I do what you do. I'm as smart as you. I'm a software engineer.
Yeah. And I like how, because his story was, he had a rough life and he smoked, like he did drugs. Well, then this guy knows how to launder money. Obviously, he knows how to launder money.
Yeah, I'm going to completely judge this guy based off the color of his skin and what I attribute to other black men. But then he comes in and it's like, oh, I'm a software engineer. I have more in common with you guys than you think.
Yeah, he worked for Intertrade, which is the rival company. So it's like, what do you do for a living? I paint houses. Oh, so you can wire the house too? No, what? No, I just paint. What are you talking about? Like, oh, I did drugs. Oh, so you can launder money? Great. No, what? No, who said that?
Yeah.
But, you know, desperate times call for desperate measures. I'm not a big fan of Superman 3. We've done the first Superman here on the 6M. We have not done Superman 2. We may at some point. Don't think we'll be doing the Richard Pryor Superman 3, if I'm guessing.
Yeah, Superman 3 is a bad movie.
It's a bad movie, but
very bad movie.
It's the same shtick that they're doing here. And like, supposedly this stuff happened in real life where these really smart dudes were taking fractions of pennies and throwing them into account, and nobody missed it. Cause like, how could you? You know what I mean?
Nobody's thinking about that. Very bad movie. The original Superman movies, it's pretty much Superman 1 to Superman 2. 3 is not good. 4 is also not good.
4 is highly forgettable.
4 is very much not good. I mean, just Superman 4, The Quest for Peace. I mean, that doesn't even sound like it.
Doesn't even sound like a comic, if I'm being honest. That's a lame title for a comic.
Yeah, it's not a good movie, man.
Speaking of Tom, we did not mention Richard Reel as Tom, who was great.
Yeah, he's also great.
It's a jump to conclusions, Matt. He's like so happy, and he's so like, all right. He's because Peter's like, all right, what's the idea, Tom? And he just can't wait to tell them, and then they completely shut him down. Poor guy.
And nothing about this like makes him think like, yeah, maybe that is a bad idea. He ends up getting it made anyway.
Yeah. 7 figures, Phil, he got for getting hit by that truck.
First thing you do when you get this big 7-figure settlement is you go in and you really try to make the prototype for this terrible idea.
Yes. Of course. Yeah. Yeah, it was. And look, not for nothing, kids. This movie almost didn't. This movie could have been derailed at any moment. The studio hated the music. The studio hated the marketing. The studio hated everything. Like, they just kept pushing back. I'm like, why would you ever want to direct anything ever with this kind of, like, if you're the studio, wouldn't you like to make some money? Wouldn't you want this? Wouldn't you want your film to be a hit? I've never understood the logic, Phil, of studios pushing back so incredibly hard and making the director feel like that this is a chore. You know, we're basically, we are the masters of this, and you will do what we say. I'm like, you didn't bring me on board for that, did you? You brought me on board for my vision because I could get this movie done. What are we talking about?
Well, I wanted to make money, and as you said, towards the beginning of this, this movie did make a lot of money,
That's
and
true.
studios are looking at it like, oh, this has to be marketable. This has to be this, and it has to be that. It has to make us some money, and Office Space isn't gonna make them money. Like it's gonna appeal to people and turn into what it did in this niche like comedy that turned into like a cult classic, but it's not gonna make all this money. And sometimes it's
Mm.
okay to just be that, but that's not what these companies want.
Yeah, that's fair. So we talked earlier about the fact that he had been offered to do a sequel. He said no. I can't blame him. And he meaning Judge was disappointed. By the way, Judge is in this film, kids. He's Joanna's boss at Tchotchke's. He's Stan. So there you go. With that. Oh, well, I mean, if you want to do the bare minimum, not exactly a highly memorable role, but very apropos actually, and what he had to do. So it was good. But after this, and it flopped, he began work on something called Extract, which was a similar to Office Space. It was like a follow-up. Fox suggested that next time he pay more heed to the studio's casting suggestions. He soon learned that the film had not gone unnoticed within the industry. Quote, Jim Carrey invited me to his house. Chris Rock left me the best voicemail ever, and I had dinner with Madonna, who found the Michael Bolton character's anger sexy. So, like, people around him are telling him this movie is great. Don't listen to what the studio tells you, which is very cool because, like, fans said the same thing, man.
Yeah, I just think that there's this idea as well that working at an office is for people that don't want to get their hands dirty, right?
Hmm.
Um, but you see in so many characters in this movie that they've got like this anger simmering under the surface, and they're just like just waiting to do something like criminal. Like what happens more than once in this movie.
For sure. Yeah. What about Peter taking apart his cubicle and just kicking back so he can see out the window? That's freaking great, man.
Yeah, he just kicks it down and just sits there. Kicks his feet up.
Okay, but set the building on fire. And then, like, Milton makes off with the money in the end. Spoiler alert, kids. Makes off the money in the end. He's on this tropical island and he's upset because he ordered it with no salt. No salt. And he's like really upset. And then he starts mumbling again. Oh my God, this guy.
Yeah, he's still just being just as anal and erotic, and nothing's really changed. He's got like the colorful shirt on, like he's just come to casual Friday, but he's just still unhappy.
And the best thing is, like, none of this could probably ever happen today because the story goes, Phil, is that when the place burned down, everything burned with it. So, like, nothing's backed up to databases. There's no, like, internet. There's no cloud services. There's no apps. There's no platforms to save content. There's no financial records with other companies outside those four walls. Like, there's no way to track where the money actually went, and it's all gone now anyway. I'm like, okay, that's convenient.
Yeah, no way that would ever work, man. Just burning down the building destroyed the paper trail, but there's still a trail somewhere. That just
True. But what's funny, Phil, is that no one's ever going to look at Milton because
no,
they would
absolutely
never
not.
suspect.
Because he's not supposed to work there. He's not on file there.
Right.
He was laid off. He should have been gone. He does not work there.
Oh my God. Yeah, so good. Milton was actually based on a former coworker that Mike Judge had worked with during his days as an engineer. One day, Judge went to the coworker and asked him how he was doing. The coworker began talking about how he was going to quit his job because he'd been forced to move his desk around too many times. So that's where the inspiration came from.
Yeah, that's also very much an office thing, being moved around constantly.
Oh, well, that's fair. Yeah. I've not been asked to do that. Hopefully, I wouldn't mind having a bigger space, but I'm okay where I'm at the moment. So I can't complain too much. So the PC load letter line from Michael was not scripted. So supposedly David Herman, who played Bolton, had more lines to say to Peter, but he was interrupted by the printer jamming and didn't understand what the error message meant. So apparently he just threw that in, which is great. Yeah. Does that mean? Yeah. Oh, that's so good. Because I've heard, I mean, if you've seen that error message, it's the first thing you think is what exactly. And by the way, what I don't know. You have to go ask the guys in the 70s who created this table. What does that mean? I don't know. I'm sure it means something. So a couple more tidbits here. Diedrich Botter came up with the gag of Lawrence carrying around his own bottle opener and the line about his cousin who's broke and don't do during rehearsal.
Yeah, that was funny too. I mean, you ain't got to be rich to not do nothing.
Yeah. He gives him a beer out of the fridge. That's all right, I got it. Takes out a can opener out of his freaking pocket, man.
Yeah, I mean, but I think that also just goes to show the differences between all of the guys who work in the office and Lawrence, or even like Joanna. It's just like, why are you doing this? You don't have to keep doing this. You could always just leave and just work somewhere else.
Yeah.
You saw how quick she left that job and had a waitress job somewhere else. He had just moved on. She quit and she was just like, all right, well, get another job.
He's working construction with Lawrence in the end, and he could not be happier. So everything worked out for this guy, man. So Ajay Naidu, who played Samir, was born and raised in Illinois. So the entire accent was just for the film. So there you go. A little backstage there for you. Bill Lumbergh has appeared in Family Guy. I kind of forgot about that gag. He's also the voice of Principal Shepard, and he's done a few other things. You and I have covered regular show, and I think we mentioned that, you know, there's a Bill Lumbergh character in one of those episodes. Which episode was he in? I forget now. Was it the coffee episode?
I think so. I can't remember, but he's definitely
something like that. Yeah, same look and everything. Really good, really good. Kids, I mean, look, the fact is we could do another hour on this because there's just so much little fun stuff to get out of this movie. And, you know, better than listening to us go on for another hour. Go watch it if you haven't watched it yet. My goodness. I'm watching it again. I may watch it again later today. We'll see. But man, it's again, folks, the numbers don't tell the story. That's what we're going to leave you with here today. The numbers do not tell the story. Give this movie a chance if you haven't. I promise you're going to like it. If you don't, there's something wrong with you. It's not the movie's fault, it's yours. So, Phil, let's take this home. What's your last word on Office Space?
Really good movie, and the kind of movie that they don't really make anymore. It's kind of just like a quick, to the point movie, hour and a half. That kind of feels like very short and episodic, in the sense that this could have easily worked as just like a short, but it just is what it is. It's very self-contained, and it has very self-referential humor, and it just completely sums up like a part of American life, like this. I don't not blue collar, but this everyday man part of life. And it does it so thoroughly. Like I don't know if anything I've ever seen perfectly describes what it's like to work in an office.
Mm. Well, look, you're on the other side of it now. You're a better man because of it. You served your time, chained to the cubicle, and you have overcome your circumstances. Could you ever, in now, look, I'm being serious here. If a former colleague or you made a connection with someone and they threw more money at you that you've ever made in your life, but it involved going back into an office setting in a cubicle, would you take it?
It depends on how much money it would be. Um, but I would try my best to not be in an office. And I mean, I guess it's also a very specific part of working in an office. Like I would not want to work in finance again. Um,
Mm.
so maybe even if it's like to sit in an office setting, um, but if I was like doing like writing or something else or doing like marketing or something else, it might not be as bad. But it's a specific office work that I have no interest in.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, honestly, I can't blame you. It's going back to the world I spent many, many years in the world of retail, brother. I'm going to tell you right now, there's just no way. I can't. The money would have to be ridiculous, and I don't see it ever happening. And it's okay because
Yeah. I do think it's funny when people are like, "Ah, why can you say never? Like, what? You never say never on anything." I was like, "Buddy, I worked there for almost 10 years. That's a long enough time for you to realize something's not for me."
yeah. Oh, dude, I spent 3 times that long with the same company, as you know, and on the day of my notice, my 2 week notice, no one asked me to stay. No one tried to convince me. No one said, Tom, you're a veteran. We can't lose you, blah, blah, blah. They just wished me luck. And I'm like, that tells me more than anything else, I am absolutely making the right decision. Like,
I I remember how I quit in the last few days there, and on my last day, I was walking around the office talking to people and basically telling them it was my last day, and they were telling me good luck, and they a reoccurring thing that kept happening that was very, very funny from the outside looking in is people were like, "Oh, where are you going? You have anything lined up?" And I just go, "No." They're like, "Wait, you don't have another job lined up? You're just leaving?" I'm just like, "Yep." And it's just like my friend described it, watching me do it, and she was just like, "Just the balls of you to walk around this place and be like, yeah, I don't have anywhere else to go. I just don't want to be here."
yeah. Look, I don't got to go home, but I got to get the heck up out of here. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have anything else lined up, but I'd rather have nothing than be here.
Yeah, like you said, that's very telling. If that doesn't tell somebody something, like, well, dude, again, Phil, as we said when we kicked the show off today, you just give so much of yourself to the same company, and then you're just going and you're just going in circles. You're just going in circles and feeling like, a clown could do this. A clown with a rubber nose could do this. Why am I? They don't respect me. They don't appreciate me. And if I leave, what happens? Like, oh God, it's like the worst feeling, man. Like,
Yeah, that's why the hamster wheel thing is such a great description of it, because it just
yeah.
feels like you're just going through the motions every day, and it doesn't feel like any of this means anything.
Right. Well, kids, guess what? If you're hamster, stuck in said wheel, there's a possibility for you. There's always a chance. If you're on this side of the ground, you got a fighting chance. So change your situation. Sometimes you got to speak stuff into existence, which is what I did about 2 years ago. I spoke something into existence, and it happened. Not because fairies came down and gave it to me, but because you just got to make things happen sometimes. It's not the easiest thing to leave something that's pretty stable or whatnot. It's paying the bills, but sometimes you got to do what you got to do. So if you're not happy with your circumstances, change them.
Yeah, I think that's really, once you watch the movie, that's kind of the message in the movie of just stop waiting around for something to change, stop complaining about something, and just do something else.
Yeah, for sure. I think that kind of sums it up when Joanna tells him, most people don't like their jobs. It's just basically, without saying get over yourself, just look, we're all in the same boat. You're not, and Phil, sometimes that's hard to remember when you're going through the grind. It's hard to remember that you're not in this alone, dude.
Yeah.
Well, there you have it, kids. There's Office Space. Again, give this movie a chance. If you haven't seen it in a while, go back and watch it again. It has aged very well, in case you're curious. And happy 25th anniversary to the creators, because man, and the actors, I'm sorry, despite whatever hoo-ha happened when this thing was made, if I'm part of this movie, I can look back on this and say, I did that. That's a funny film. I'm glad I was a part of it. Hopefully they're saying that too. We'll see what else happens with Judge in the future, and maybe we'll cover some stuff here, but you can just about be guaranteed Superman 3 will not be one of them. So if you were hoping for that, you're in the wrong place. We'll see what happens next. In the meantime, that is Office Space.
Hey, thanks for listening to the show. Check out our social media on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at 6M Podcast. We'll see you next time.